So today's video is going to be a reply to a comment that I got in one of my recent videos on Instagram. And it's a video that I posted on Instagram and YouTube, and it's about training with injured training partners. And the basic gist of it is that, let's say that you and I are training. If I say, hey, my knees hurt, will you not attack leg locks? I in turn am not going to attack leg locks on you. Now, you could agree with that. You could not agree with that. That's fine. But that's what I found to be it's a pretty safe bet that that's going to be good etiquette if you train with someone. So take that for what you will. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because one of the replies I got sort of illustrates a misconception that I think a lot of people have about rolling. It's a misconception I used to have when I was younger, and so I wanted to share it with you guys, and hopefully it can be useful to you in your training in some time in the future. So the comment that I got to that video about the training with an injured person, the person says, I stopped training with hurt people. Not my problem you choose to train injured and are trying to limit what I can do. Get healed up and then come talk to me. Don't waste the limited time I have to train by telling me what I can and can't do. So what I told the guy replied back, I was like, you sound like a real pleasant chap to be a training partner. I bring this up though, because that is a misconception that I think a lot of people have. That if I can't train 100% balls to the wall, getting after it, then I have no value in this role, that there's no value to this. And this could be with someone that is injured. This could also be with someone that's a lot smaller than you, where you can't really go full speed on them, or maybe less experienced than you. And a lot of times people say, oh, there's no value in this. And again, I used to hold that idea, but as I got more experienced, I realized that wasn't true. There's a great example of this in action that happened back in 2019. In 2019, I was training with one of my brown belts. And he's one of those lapel wizards. If you've ever rolled with him, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They pull out your lapel and they run it through your gi and stuff like that. Most frustrating damn position in jiu-jitsu, in my opinion. And training with him made my ability to defend that and break those grips much better. But there was one particular training session where I figured out a really nifty grip. Nifty, it's an old word. I haven't used that word in a while. But a little grip that basically shut his lapel game down. We were training, and again, at the time, at that training session, he was injured, couldn't train full speed. We were probably going like 50, 60%, and we were avoiding some areas that where he was injured. And I remember he was doing his lapel thing, and I was letting him get me into the lapels guard, and then I was trying to see what I could do from there. Because I figured, well, I'll use this as a chance to work on a weak position of mine. And so go ahead and put me in your best stuff and let me see what I can do from this. And I had to, the kicker was that I had to do this with very light pressure and good control because I didn't want to go full speed on him because I didn't want to injure him, right? Now, again, you could look at that and say, well, that's not going to be very beneficial because I can't go full speed. But the reality is that during that training session, after rolling with him, I figured out a really cool grip that shut the whole thing down. And for you guys that have my Get a Grip series, that's the tentacle grip, right? I don't know why we called it that, but that was just the name that popped up during that class. And I used the grip, and I was like, well, that was cool. Let me go try this on everybody else. And I went around the whole class, and I'm using the grip that I used on him, and it was just really cool. I was like, oh man, this is a really awesome grip. And I figured it out. Was never shown to me. I figured it out because we were rolling, and instead of me trying to go full speed and go real fast and everything else, I'm just like, let's see what I can do to manipulate all this stuff and be so tight, controlled, and technical, but not being able to put full pressure on. Now, here's the cool part. That same grip that I started using then, that I just sort of figured out, 2019 rolls around, or later 2019, like 4 or 5 months, because this was 2019, about 4 or 5 months later, I go to a competition, and in the open division, I roll against two guys. One guy's using the lapel, the Bravo grip from the lapel inside the full guard, which it's a pain in the butt if they get it. And I was able to shut it down, no problem. And then later on, I rolled with the guy who was playing that same like lapel stuff, and I shut his stuff down too. And it helped me win gold medal at that competition. So 2 matches in particular, I know it helped me out in a big way. Now again, I learned this not from like going really hard, but from training at a much easier pace. And again, there's a lot of studies that have been done on the way that humans learn. And one thing that we do is that we learn when we're in a much more relaxed state. There's a time to train really hard and go after it. I love those kinds of training sessions. And, like if I'm getting ready for a competition, in a lot of cases, I will, have to say no to some rolls because people say, hey, Chewy, you want to roll? And, I have to say no to some of them because I have to get the rolls with the hard people, the tough people. But if training's not like I'm not getting ready for a competition, I love rolling with people that, maybe they're smaller than me and I can't go full speed, or maybe they are a lot less experienced than me. Or in some cases, if they've just got a little injury that they're trying to work around and I have to slow it down. I learn a lot from those rolls. And again, going back to the idea of learning, we learn in a more relaxed state. We have to sharpen our techniques and stuff like that, and there's a time to use it under those really high stress situations. But when you're talking about learning stuff and practicing new stuff, you do that best when you're in a slightly excited but not too stressed out state, somewhere in the middle. And so again, for any of you guys that share the idea that I had when I was younger, that this fella shares right now, that there's just no value to get from training with someone if they're maybe injured and you have to work around something, or maybe if they're smaller than whatever it might be, then again, chew on that idea and see what you think. And also, one last thing to leave you with is that as you get older in jiu-jitsu and as you get more experience, you'll probably come to the realization that me and many of my black belts have come to, that you start accumulating wear and tear on your body, right? There's just life. And that one of the secrets or one of the keys to being a good black belt is learning how to train around your injuries, right? Because at some point, you're simply going to be injured. You'll have a bad ankle, you'll have a bad shoulder or something. And so being able to train around those injuries is incredibly helpful, and having good training partners to do it is very useful. So anyway, just an idea to chew on. I wanted to share that with you, and hopefully that's useful to your training, and I'll talk to you guys soon.